Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host, Maqbool, with you at PTV World. In today's show, we're going to be taking a look at two important stories. The first is in reference to the Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's visit to China. This is, of course, something that was scheduled earlier as well, and, of course, is something that has been high on the agenda, in particular focus, of course, with the CPEX Phase 2, and, of course, other trade and investment discussions, especially with regards to business-to-business movement and, of course, more development in terms of the way that we want to proceed forward, especially in the sectors of innovation, tech and IT. And so the Prime Minister, of course, has arrived in Shenzhen, and he will be visiting two other cities as well, of course, meeting with the leadership of China and key stakeholders in top businesses of the Chinese community as well. What, of course, is important is to see what is going to be the outcome of this visit, particularly in light of Phase 2 of CPEC and how we want to proceed forward. And, of course, important discussions around ML1 and again with the IPPs and the way that we want to proceed further in terms of trying to get a decrease in burden on the already high electricity prices. So we're going to be seeing what sort of developments are going to be taking place, particularly out of this visit, and especially in terms of how Pakistan and China have always enjoyed long-term strategic partnership, but how is this going to evolve now in a further increase in trade and investment ties given the current economic circumstances of Pakistan and, of course, the world over as well. So we're going to be taking a look at that in our first segment of the show today. Our next one is going to be taking a look at what is going on in India. And, of course, we talked about this yesterday as well. And, of course, we have the final count continuing today. And it seems the kind of numbers that we've seen so far point towards the fact that perhaps the BJP-led alliance is going to be getting the government, but of course the kind of majority that the BJP perhaps had hoped for earlier is not on the horizon. Of course, the final count still has to come in, but we're going to, of course, be discussing what these results and numbers point towards and what sort of a government or parliament we're actually looking at, particularly if the BJP, of course, have to share that with other political parties in the alliance, and the sort of impact that this will have on India's economy in policy making and, of course, other decisions that the BJP perhaps had been used to making unilaterally in the past decade or so. So we're going to be taking a look at that in our next segment of the show today. For this and more, as always in the studios, I've been joined by senior analysts Farrukh Pitafi and Raja Faisal. And for our first segment regarding the Prime Minister's visit to China, we've also been joined by Masood Khalid, who's the former ambassador. Thank you very much, Masood Saab, for joining us in the debate today. And I'll start with you, given, of course, the visit that the Prime Minister, of course, has just started by landing in the country today. This is something we've talked about before and, of course, has been part of what many people are hoping for will bring out new promises or new hope in our economic reforms. And so I want your take, particularly in terms of the kind of agendas that we have reportedly seen, of course, with CPEC Phase 2 and other major projects and B2B engagements. What is your hope out of this visit, particularly in terms of trade and investment relationships with China?
Thank you very much for inviting me. Actually, we have to, I'll highlight a few key points of this visit. Number one, that this is a government which had started CPEC Phase 1. And now once again, we see that this government is settled, is in power. And now we are about to see the commencement of CPEC Phase 2. So that way, it is important that the same people who steered CPEC Phase 1 are now part of the CPEC Phase 2 process. Secondly, I think a lot of developments are taking place in our region and internationally. So I think in that backdrop, this visit is important because when Prime Minister meets the Chinese leaders, the President and the Premier, they will have a holistic discussion, not only on bilateral relations, but also on regional developments and international developments. Particularly, we see the contestation and the competition, which is increasing, growing between the United States and China, and has its fallout on all countries, including Pakistan. So my point is that in that context, this visit is important. Third, factor which I want to sort of highlight here is that CPAC phase 2 is starting, and we have to see how can we sort of take advantage of this process, uh, keeping in mind the shortcomings which occurred in the phase 1. There were problems, there were snags, and both sides have to converge on how to sort of take forward this process, because we have included many new areas of cooperation in phase 2: agriculture, IT, etc., science and technology. So I think CPEC phase 2 and China's commitment to CPEC phase 2, Pakistan's commitment to phase 2 will be important. Number 4 point is that Prime Minister has started his visit from Shenzhen. Now, Shenzhen is right now amongst the 10th largest economies in terms of, if you take the cities, in terms of largest economies, the Shenzhen is one. It has about 40-50 billionaires alone, and it is part of the Guangdong province, which is the richest province of China. Now, Shenzhen was a fishing village, about 40 years ago. There was nothing. It was just across Hong Kong. And right now, it has emerged as a manufacturing hub, as a hub of innovation, science and technology, IT, whatnot. All these big corporations like Huawei, BYD, which are collaborating with Pakistan. And, BYD has, I think, showed its intention to set up a automobile facility here. So Prime Minister will be meeting the business community, and I think he met the party chief of Shenzhen today, and he'll be meeting the business community. So in the second phase, the most important thing will be how much collaboration takes place between the private sectors of two countries. First phase focused on G2G cooperation, but now we are talking about special economic zones, relocation of Chinese industry. And in that context, in that regard, Chinese private sector will play a crucial role. So Prime Minister's meeting not only in Beijing, but in Shenzhen will play a critical role in canvassing the Chinese business community to look at the investment opportunities which Pakistan is offering. And of course, we have to do some homework also back home to lure them and to come forward and invest in our special economic zones and industrial parks, etc. So I think all these are important. If you combine all these factors, then I think this visit is important, and I'm sure there will be agreements, there will be some MOUs which will be signed, and I am hopeful, because once the leaders of China and meet, they not only reaffirm and reinforce bilateral cooperation, their strategic partnership, but also agree on new avenues of mutually beneficial cooperation in different domains.
Absolutely. And Ambassador Saab, you spoke about the engagements with, of course, business leaders that the Prime Minister is also going to be engaging with. And that's important, especially in terms of the kind of perhaps direct involvement that we are hoping for Chinese investors and business community in Pakistan, and of course FDI as a result of that, and also the kind of B2B engagements that are also part of the agenda. But what do you think will be the way forward on this front, especially in terms of what exactly we are offering or incentivizing the business community to actually come in here and invest, given of course the current economic situation in the country as well? And what do you think will be the major role, especially of SIFC in this regard, in the government, to take this forward together?
You see, CPEC is for economic countries, and it has played an important role in the first phase in terms of improving our infrastructure, in terms of meeting our energy deficit. Gwadar is coming up. Quite a few projects have been ongoing in Gwadar. But what has happened, the fourth cluster of CPEC phase 1, the special economic zones, industrial cooperation, we have lagged behind. So I think back home, at home, we will have to undertake a very serious review of the lapses and the shortcomings. Our system, sort of could not deliver, and the expectations And now we have this issue of security. Of course, government is tackling it. Government has taken specific substantive measures to deal with this problem. Yet this problem exists. So I think that requires better communication and better coordination between the two sides. But I'm sure that will receive attention, and that is, uppermost in our minds as well as the Chinese minds. Obviously, the Chinese are working here; their assets are under threat, and we know who is behind us: inimical forces, which want to, sabotage CPAC, which want to create a dent in Pakistan-China relationship, propaganda through, hard measures like subversion and terrorism. So we have to be on guard. But what I'm saying is that the systemic slacks which we'll have to address. We'll have to address the Chinese concerns, for example, of the payables to IPPs. There are still ease of doing business. We have to do. We have to speed up these things. Only then the Chinese will find, they will work in their comfort zone, and they will have the confidence to look at Pakistan. I can assure you that the Chinese private sector and Chinese business community still look at Pakistan. They understand and they appreciate the potential of Pakistan in terms of connectivity with various regions, in terms of its manpower, in terms of its resources, in terms of its profitability of the market. So there is great potential. Now it is our job, the job of the government, the job of our authorities, to really sort of streamline our processes so that this opportunity is not wasted. And whatever shortcomings we identify in the first phase, we should try to, address them and address Chinese concerns. Now, you mentioned about SIFC. SIFC is a good initiative, but this is right now focused on attracting investment from the Middle Eastern countries, and primarily from Saudi Arabia and UAE, I think, and some others if they wish to come. First of all, we have to sort of treat all these important Middle East partners, countries at par. They are influential, they have the money, they have the liquidity, and they are advancing very fast. Look at Saudi Arabia, look at UAE, Qatar. So they have to be given a level playing field. Secondly, I strongly feel that at some point in time, we'll have to there has to be some kind of synergy between CPAC and SIFC, because CPAC is already now a decade-old initiative. So we have learned lessons. We experimented this initiative and we have learned lessons. There are experiences which we can share with our SIFC partners. So at some point in time, both the initiatives will have to run in tandem. And because if you see the geopolitical picture, what role China has played in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is now, I think it was the first largest exporter of oil to China. Now it is after Russian, I think this Ukraine war, Russia is number one and Saudi Arabia is, I think, number two. But still, China is investing in Saudi Arabia. China is investing in UAE. All these important countries of the Gulf, they acknowledge and they appreciate China's potential in terms of, contributing to their socio-economic development, particularly innovation and technology. And they know the deficit which exists on the other side. So they look at China. And we are a time-tested friend, strategic partner of China. So we should be playing a role of kind of a bridge builder, a contributor, an enabler, a facilitator, both for CPAC and SIFC, and somehow, at some point in time, these two initiatives have to dovetail in one fashion or the other.
Absolutely, Ambassador Saab, and I think Pakistan has historically played the role of bridge builders. But let us come back to the Prime Minister's visit, because earlier you mentioned Gwadar, and I was looking at Prime Minister's agenda there, visits agenda, and there I found commercialization of Gwadar mentioned there as well. So my question is, I've been going to Gwadar when there was hardly anything there, except for a couple of property dealers' shops who were selling, Gwadar master plan. And Gwadar master plan has repeatedly been revised. Now, the question in my mind at this moment is, even if you, I was there last year again, and I thought that they have built this infrastructure, but still in our collective imagination, it is only an outlier. It is a distant reality. How can Pakistan and China ensure that commercialization and integration of Gwadar can take place? That actually is how it is supposed to be, sir.
Thank you, Farrukh sir. I think it's a very important question. But I think we should keep in mind that no port is constructed or developed in 4 or 5 years. And we have seen the obstacles and the impediments which occurred in the smooth development of Gwadar in the last few years. Yes, the pace of CPAC was quite fast, I must say, because I was involved in the process. I was there in China at that time when it started. From 2013 onwards till 2018, the pace was quite good, and whatever we achieved was in that period. Later on, the matters were politicized in Pakistan, and of course, later on, this COVID also complicated the picture. So there was a slowdown, and I mean, this government has come out very clearly. As an Iqbal Saab has told us how Gwadar, this dredging and other projects were delayed. So my point, I mean, look at this electrification, electricity power project of Gwadar. It has been hanging fire for the last 4 or 5 years, 3 years. So whose fault? I mean, my point is that no port is developed in 4 or 5 years. Port Qasim, if I'm not wrong, it took about 15 to 16 years to develop. So we should allow that kind of margin. And attempts are being made to target Chinese in Gwadar, to target Chinese assets in Gwadar, so that, there is a scare and they are made to run away. For example, another example I give you. Now, there is a lot of propaganda in the media, and Baluch mind is being polluted by this false and wrong propaganda. For example, I was told, and I read it, that Gwadar is being fenced. I was told by someone in authority that that is not the case. A safe city project is being established. Now, we have safe city in Karachi, we have installed cameras in Islamabad, Lahore. So what is so different? Of course, Gwadar port is going to be very important in future. And so we have to protect it. We have not only to protect the installations, the different projects there, we have to protect the people who are working there, foreigners as well as Pakistanis. So I think if we allow Gwadar, I mean, look at it, despite slowness of CPAC and Gwadar-related projects, we are hopefully now looking at the operationalization of a modern airport this year. There is a full-fledged hospital which the Chinese have made. There's a vocational center. There is a school which has been established. There's an industrial-free zone. So all these things have happened in the last 5 or 6 years, basically after the visit of President Xi Jinping in 2015. So my point is that it will take time, and whatever snags exist on our side in relation to Gwadar, we should address them. We should enable the Chinese to work in their comfort zone in Pakistan, including Gwadar. I mean, we have given incentives, but I think we need to look at what deficiencies still exist, because it is in our interest. CPAC is in our interest. I'm very clear in my mind. And yes, it has not come up yet. But I look at another factor which I think I forgot to mention. Look at the interest of the regional countries of Central Asia, which are landlocked, and they now look to Pakistani ports of Gwadar and Karachi, Qasim, for their trade. So this opportunity does not exist 10 years ago. Why? It is because of CPAC. So now we have to actually streamline our procedures, streamline our processes. I mean, somehow we have to overcome this archaic system whereby a foreign investor has to run from pillar to post and get NOCs and licenses and approvals from good about 23 different offices. This is ridiculous. In that way, we will not attract anyone in terms of investment in Pakistan.
Yeah, Ambassador Masood, I'm glad that you have highlighted that, of course, CPEC can be, connected to Central Asian republics as well, and that too through Afghanistan. In that context, I just wanted to know that if we have Afghanistan right in the middle, can we say that Pakistan and China, they are on board, that if the connectivity to the Central Asian republics is going to be a thing of past, a thing of future, in that context, can we say that Afghanistan would be playing a role in coming days for CPAC? Number one. And number two, when we talk about IT sector and the tech transfer, especially related to special economic zones, and of course, we know that when it comes to manufacturing sector, Pakistan lacks the tech, the adequate tech that meets the standards of the current world. Can we say that in coming days we will be seeing that the tech transfer in manufacturing sector that would be taking place, so that we can design our special economic zones in which the investments can be, of course, attracted, and at the same time we can create more jobs for people of Pakistan, especially in terms of manufacturing sector and the IT sector, emerging technologies, and all of these corridors where we have sort of potential, we can earn money and earn jobs in coming future.
And Ambassador Saab, if you would allow me, I'd add a number 3 since we're short on time. There is, of course, also something on the agenda with regards to an extension in the repayment of Chinese IPPs. And of course, this will have a direct impact on the cost of electricity as well. What exactly do you think is the possibility of that actually happening out of this visit?
Thank you. I'll take the first question, Afghanistan. Both Pakistan and China have already agreed in principle to include Afghanistan and CPEC. Now, the problem is the situation in Afghanistan itself. And right now, our relations with Afghanistan are not that good. We hope that they will improve, because Afghanistan is our neighbor and it's an important country. And traditionally, we have very close linkages. I mean, we are inseparable that way. So somehow we will have to overcome this problem. Afghanistan will have to, get its act together. Because Afghanistan will benefit. It's a war-ravaged economy. So, and Afghans, I think, are now realizing the importance. And I can mention 2 developments. For the first time, Afghanistan has committed $35 million of investment in Chabahar port. So that means they are looking towards this connectivity aspect now. Secondly, China is also creating a road link with Afghanistan through Wakhan corridor, again, in the context of connectivity. So my point is, all these developments are taking place, and Pakistan is in the center of these developments. Pakistan is crucial. Pakistan is a key. Now, if Afghanistan stabilizes, and I think Pakistan, along with China and regional countries, need to be, I think, we can sort of consider to, be more active in that regard. And regionally, we try to sort of stabilize the situation, contribute to stabilization. No one country can help Afghanistan that way. China is prepared to help Afghanistan. China has accepted their ambassador in Beijing. So China is looking towards future and realizes that Afghanistan has to be involved in this process. So I think that if situation stabilizes, there is peace in Afghanistan, and this attacks on Pakistan, etc., they stop, and Chinese authorities cooperate with Pakistan, I think forward movement can take place. Now, second question about the SEZs. As I said before, we have not been able to implement fourth cluster, which was industrial cooperation and SEZs. We have not been able to even operationalize even one SEZ. And I hope that when Prime Minister comes back, and he will create a task force on SEZ, and I think we should operationalize at least 1 or 2 SEZs within this year, by the end of this year. Only then Chinese confidence will be built, and they will look towards Pakistan. There can be relocation of industry. There is still interest. You talked about innovation and IT. Don't forget, please, that there are 28,000 students, Pakistani students in China. Nearly 5,000 are doing masters, PhDs, and MPhils in high-tech subjects and disciplines. They are your pool. They are the ones who can contribute to socio-economic development of Pakistan in terms of innovation, IT development, science and technology. We need that. Technology of transfer will take place from the Chinese companies who come, relocate here in our special economic zones. Technology of transfer will take place from these Pakistani students who are there. So they are our assets. We have, I think, great opening available to us, provided we have our eyes, on right on the spot. That how can we manage and how can we mobilize this? So I think the Chinese companies which are already working here, they are contributing to the improvement of skill set of our manpower, our labor. And this is how transfer of technology takes place. And I am aware of certain clusters between different educational institutions, universities of China and Pakistan. They have created hub. NUST is doing collaborating with China and some other organizations and universities. So this can be expanded. And another thing I think I want to emphasize is that Pakistan has not done much on the special economic zone. Secondly, our government, successive governments, somehow, and I don't sort of say that this is an area which needs to receive our attention. We have signed sister city agreements, nearly 24 agreements with Chinese provinces and cities. You know, Chinese government has tasked these provinces of China to go global. They have allowed them to independently enter into joint ventures, linkages, exchanges with the provinces and the cities with which they signed these agreements. Now, we have signed these agreements. There is just no follow-up. I tell you, on these basis, one-on-one basis, city-to-city basis, province-to-province basis, we could have, believe me, done so much in terms of attracting Chinese investments, Chinese collaboration, because each Chinese province has its own strength. Some are rich in minerals, some are, good in agriculture, some are good in IT, some are good in health, sciences. So, but our cities and our provinces have completely ignored, and this process is dormant. So I hope when Prime Minister comes back, he will give attention to this particular dimension of our bilateral collaboration, because other countries are taking full advantage. Personally aware.
Absolutely. And Ambassador Saab, quickly on IPPs also, please.
I'll respond if you have 1 minute.
You can have your word. Yes. Continue, please.
Sorry, should I?
Yes, go ahead.
No, IPPs, you see, this is a contractual obligation we have to pay back, and we had agreed on setting up a revolving account also. But I think that also did not take place. So this has obviously created some disappointment and frustration in Chinese companies, because they have borrowed money from their own banks, which has to be repaid. For example, for these power plants, they have to enter into long-term agreements for the import of coal, for example, with foreign countries. So they have to be paid. So if their receivables, payables are not honored, not paid to them in time, obviously it creates problems. But look at the Chinese companies, they have not gone into arbitration on this issue. Given our friendship, they have, shown respect, because otherwise it could have been a major issue. So I hope that Prime Minister's visit will provide that opportunity to discuss this particular dimension. We are facing economic challenges, and I think these challenges can be explained privately to the Chinese leadership, and they will appreciate, and some kind of arrangement, I'm sure, can be worked out, provided we sort of, articulate our case effectively.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Masood Khalid Saab, for joining us and being a part of the discussion and sharing your valuable insight with us. We're now going to be taking a look at our next segment, which focuses on elections in India. And of course, the counting continues. But with the kind of numbers that have been flowing in, it seems to point towards the victory of the BJP-led alliance. However, not with the kind of majority that perhaps the BJP was looking for, but a victory nonetheless. And Farrukh, I'll take your perspective on this first. Because your stance was something otherwise than what we're seeing right now. So are you still on the edge, or have you...
My stance was other way around.
No, he's nearly where he should have been.
No, no.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
At the start, I kept on saying that something is wrong and that he is going to diminish further. Right?
Yes.
So, but still, because you're doubting my predictions, so I am going to repeat what I said yesterday. Oh, ye of little faith.
What about what you said
Yeah.
earlier than yesterday?
I kept on saying the same things again and again. Look, India is a very dynamic country, and India has many balls in the air and many things that are going on. But if you're going to ask me who is the winner today, it is somebody I mentioned yesterday, and I thought that he is also in the race, although he has died ages ago. Baba Sahab Ambedkar, the author of India's constitution. Why? Because when BJP started saying "Ab ki baar 400 par," and then they started saying 370 or 370, at that time their own party members started immediately saying that we are going to change the constitution. You need 2/3 majority in the lower house to change the constitution, and in the house of 543, the number that you need roughly is 360, right? And with that kind of number, they could have actually, changed the constitution if they wanted. So what happened, Sanam? The beautiful people of India came out and they voted, and they ensured that BJP doesn't go anywhere near that number. Not only that, first time ever in Narendra Modi's political, life, it has happened that he has lost majority. Remember that in 2002 he was not elected, he was appointed as the Chief Minister of Gujarat. And after that we saw the Gujarat violence, and after that what happened was something else. Immediately after that, before that he wasn't even an MP, and after that he got Bhari Bahumat, a big majority. And after that he has constantly been doing exactly that. This time, the majority mark, Sana, is 272 out of 543. And this time, his own party is getting 242. That is 30 seats short of majority mark. Now, that means that, Samvidhan or the constitution is safe, and nobody's Puppa's Taya can change the constitution, or for that matter, any divine urja can actually change that constitution. That said, there are many other things which are still at risk. One thing that is for sure is India's Loktantra, that is democracy of India. And in that there are three parts. One, various institutions, including Sansad, that is the parliament. The second one is media. And the third one is judiciary. So now what happens, Sana, is that because they are not getting majority on their own, there's still a chance that he might actually form the government. And I'm saying chance, right? Okay. Because remember, India still is BJP country. It is not, India country for that matter, right? India Alliance might have actually gained a lot of space, but that is primarily because of divisions within BJP. And what caused those divisions? Two things. One, I'm not going to call him a thing, he's a man, Amit Shah. Amit Shah, it is thought that Amit Shah is going to succeed Narendra Modi next year. And because of that, there was this jealousy and this feeling that he is going to replace the UPCM. That is Yogi Adityanath. I was about to call Yogendra Yadav. His mention also comes later.
Yeah.
But apart from that, they have also alienated many other members of the party, senior members, because they were displaced after their victories. And finally, they alienated RSS. So with that kind of a situation, right now, all of those characters, all of those individuals are going to have a say on who becomes the Prime Minister, right? And regarding this NDA that we talk about, that goes beyond 272. Most of the parties that are part of it are people who will be wary of staying with Narendra Modi, especially if there is a chance of putting him out of power. Because their method, their modus operandi, Sana, is essentially blackmail. They open cases on you and they keep on pushing you till the time you don't actually concede and totally come on board, right? So now what happens is there are two very important components of NDA. One is called Nitish Kumar's JDU. Do you know, by the way, who was the actual architect of India Alliance? It was Nitish Kumar of JDU, who was poached back by BJP. And now he sits in, NDA with 16 seats. And similarly, Chandra Babu Naidu of Andhra Pradesh, right? His TDP also got 16 seats. So here you have 32 seats which are ready to be poached because Andhra Pradesh has a huge number of Muslims who are given reservation also. And whatever Narendra Modi was doing regarding that, it alienated that vote bank, right? So both of these people are ready. I think tomorrow they are going to go to Delhi. Modi will also try this, others will also. Modi today gave a victory speech, so to speak. And this time he called it, before that he actually put out a tweet as well. In the tweet he said that a third time NDA government. Before that, every time he used to say, "Ab ki baar Modi Sarkar." This time it has become. But I'm telling you something else. Secondly, what happened is that today, while his victory speech was given to the people who were BJP supporters, and it was supposed to be an NDA, speech, but it had only chants of Modi, and nobody from NDA was sitting there. So who was there? JP Nadda, the guy who actually lashed out in an interview at RSS. I think JP Nadda is also on the way out. Then Amit Shah possibly is also, if he stays on the team, then Modi might not actually be able to come back to the government. And with that kind of situation, now it is either NDA government with a new face. There are two faces that are known. One, Nitin Gadkari, the Nagpur MP, who is the transport minister. The other one is, if you want to actually see our compromise candidate, Rajnath Singh, the defense minister. Both are educated men. Rajnath Singh is a professor and this guy is an engineer, right? Otherwise, if India bloc can actually poach as many people as possible and crosses 272, then it is time for Prime Minister Rahul Gandhi.
Wow, so we're still on that, like there could be a possibility.
It is going to be long nights high.
Right. Faisal, I want your take on that as well, whether or not you also think that that's a possibility, especially yesterday we were just discussing about how exit polls can paint a different picture. And while, of course, it's pointing towards the same victory as of now, there is still, of course, a huge difference in the kind of numbers perhaps that were predicted as per the count till now that we have. And so I want your perspective on that as well. And then also, if this is going to be the way that the actual results also come forward, what sort of a government do you foresee, and what sort of a role do you then see of the India Alliance, and also especially in the parliament, the difficulties that BJP or Prime Minister Modi might be facing?
Sana, first of all, whoever is taking the premier slot in India this time around, they will be facing a very strong opposition, whichever the side it is. And when it comes to, of course, who's coming and who's not, still I believe Modi is becoming Prime Minister the third time, the third lucky charm, he is going to get it. And why I believe it? Because you remember last month we had a program in which Barrister Aditya was our guest, and I asked him a very pertinent question, and that was related to two of the ministries, Home Ministry, and of course I had talked about the Defense Ministry, and I said to him, these two ministries won't be staying with the BJP, they would be going, of course, with the others of the NDAs. And he at that time, of course, did not agree to it, but to some extent I had sort of the assessment that these two important ministries would be going elsewhere, because the kind of condition at that time the election was going on with, I believed that NDA alliance, of course BJP is the top party within them, and with them they would be standing in between 270 to 290, and off the record I have been telling you the same.
BJP is standing at 242.
Yeah, BJP is standing, but Farrukh, I know you are going to tell me that no, still you are wrong, but I remember I told you guys that eventually they will be able to form a government because they needed 272. So NDA's alliance, of course, BJP and NDA, and I remember that on ground they will be, of course, Khalid's support. They would be.
They got one seat, I think.
Yeah, getting as well, and with that, of course, I was talking about 270, in between 270 and 290, they will be able to get it. And so far, I think they are standing at 296, if I'm not wrong.
No, that is NDA. Not
yeah,
BJP.
Yeah, BJP.
Last time you told me BJP will get between 270 and 290.
You know, when we talk about Modi's BJP, I mean the kind of governments they have been making previously as well. Of course, NDA was part of them.
Look,
that's why.
Yesterday I exhibited humility and I bit the bullet, right? I actually confessed on air that I might be wrong, right? Nobody, including you and I, know what is going to happen in future. Of course, unless you know Jyotish Vidya, which is, astrology or future prophecy, right? Minus that, I know at this moment it is 50-50 right now. So you can have faith, but that will be.
It is still, but
is it still 50-50?
It is.
It's not 50-50 at all.
It is 1920. Yeah.
No. It's 55-45 now, and because what I'm trying to say is,
what
Sana,
is 55-45?
You are going to see BJP-led government of NDA. And of course, I am seeing Prime Minister Modi coming back once more. Okay. And I am seeing that the important ministries would be not staying within the BJP, but of course the other parties. And the most important thing is, Sana, we kept on highlighting, not since last month or, since last week. We have been doing it almost, since the vibes of elections were echoing around us. And we've been mentioning one thing, as Farrukh rightly pointed out. Constitution of India has actually won. No one else has won. Constitution of India has actually won. Why? Because this election, I think it was being fought to safeguard and to secure the Constitution, the secular nature of the Constitution of India. And I think to that extent, people of India has actually managed to save their Constitution.
Well, technically secularism was nowhere. But there are losers here, right? One loser is media. The other loser is pollsters, right? And then I tell you, there are still 2-3 things which can be saved. Sansad, that is the parliament. Second thing is Loktantra. And finally, media and judiciary. But for that, there will have to be a change. Otherwise, if you have BJP, those things are not going to stay.
Well, at least we still have.
Farrukh, I've been even told that about $10 million was spread around within the media
well, at least
for yesterday's.
We will actually figure out who the real winner is.
For yesterday's inning, they have been given $10 million.
Thank you very much, Faisal and Farrukh, for joining us in the debate as always. And that's all the time that we have in the show today. We'll now see you tomorrow.